I literally get the best ideas when I'm cycling. That's why I love the commute to V&A. A lot of what I'm trying to do in my work is create environments where people can really feel a sense of collective potential. Oh, that's beautiful. That's lovely. So I wanted to create a project that welcomed people into the idea of dreaming up new and unusual museums. What I'm doing at the moment is making an artwork for each of the museums that has been dreamt up in the Blueprint project. So for example, right now, I'm working on a poster that advertises the Museum of Electric Fans. There was kind of two different ways that people could engage with the project. They could either come into the studio and do a session with me where we played this game called Museum Dreaming, which is the kind of activity that helped people to generate ideas for these museums. Or they could receive a shared sketchbook in the post. These people were guided through an activity, and the activity asks you to think about and reflect on memories of objects, spaces, and human interactions that have inspired you. And it's those memories that become the kind of basis for the imagined future museum. So I've sent Blueprint sketchbooks out to people all around the world, actually. This one's back from Cardiff, but there's ones that are out in New York, in Zambia, Indonesia, in Hong Kong, Hastings, in particularly people that are doing really important work in reimagining how cultural spaces work in their individual contexts. These are the people that I wanted to invite into the Blueprint project and listen to when it comes to thinking about the future of museums. I think they're the people that can teach us. This is the Museum of Confidence and Pride, Museum of Bicycle Journeys, Museum of Memories, Museum of Silence and Emptiness. This board feels like it's the kind of source book for all of the ideas that I can draw from when I'm creating these pieces of work that represent the museums that have been imagined. Coming from my own head, I can always look back and look deeper into where the ideas have come from and what people said and what language people used to describe these visions. The Museum of Kitchen Tables, you know, a place of connection, eating, making, so central to everyday life. They hold a lot of stories. Museum of Soil, in my mind it's like a museum that's a lot darker and colder and kind of smellier than normal museums.
In the future, there is a museum that holds a collection of art.
In the future, there is a museum that holds a collection of fans.
It looks like everywhere but nowhere, a dream space, and feels like reality, home, warm.
In the future, there is a museum that holds a collection of trees.
In the future, there is a museum that holds a collection of huts. It looks like a garden and feels like home.
That is a seriously wide tree. When you really listen to people about what's inspired them, it tends to be things that are very everyday and often to do with nature, actually. I always think when I'm standing on autumn leaves, it sounds like cornflakes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
These things, although they're so small, they really kind of live on in people as significant and inspiring experiences that they've had. And I think it's so interesting to sort of imagine institutions that are sort of built to honour those small, subtle, sensory, everyday life experiences that we all have. seem to find inspiration in the smallest everyday things. I love charity shops and vintage shops and car boot sales, anything where you've got, you know, a range of objects that have just kind of come together and they've got their own stories. Sometimes this stuff really tricks me. I think, oh, it's a beautiful vintage handmade piece, and then it's like from Zara. That's okay. It sort of reminds me of the kind of mixed media thing that I'm trying to do with my work, trying to keep it really lively, and so that there's all these kind of different things going on, so that when people come and look at it, they might go, oh wow, that really sort of resonates with me, whereas that I feel less towards, and I love that sort of variety. It helps you to kind of like feel closer, I suppose, to your own tastes or your own interests. Great. So I'm making an artwork for each of the museums that has been dreamt up in the Blueprint project. Lots of the things that I'm making are posters or invitations or features of these imagined museums. But in some cases, I've been able to actually start bringing those ideas or those museums to life in real spaces. This space was named the Museum of Infectious Smiles, and children and their families came to the museum. They were asked to think about what the last thing that made them smile was. It was really sweet and very infectious. Nutella. Chocolate spread. Oh, I love that. I really love the idea of a museum that was there to sort of inspire more joy and therefore potentially inspire more smiles. That's taking something small that you can do in your own life, and just by doing it or paying attention to doing it, you can have a knock-on effect on the people around you. I mean, these pictures are making me smile. So
Brilliant.
maybe that works. I think what this project has really taught me is that if we find a way of giving space to ideas that come from a place of feeling rather than thinking, then all sorts of incredible and beautiful things can emerge. I think this project has helped illustrate how many ideas people have for how these spaces could be.